All right, let's invite the next speaker, Youngjo Song, who is currently affiliated with the Tri-Institutional Center for Translational Research in Neuroimaging and Data Science, so Tri-NDS, in Atlanta, Georgia, where he is preparing to begin a postdoctoral fellowship. And his research focused on understanding the brain's intrinsic dynamics and how they're related to consciousness and the underlying mechanisms of psychiatric and neurological disorders. And he's particularly interested in applying physics-based and computational methods to uncover dynamic principles of brain function using multimodal neuroimaging data. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. So good morning, everyone. My name is Youngjo Song, and I'm very pleased to be here today. So thank you for the opportunity to present our recent work. So I have nothing to disclosure. Schizophrenia is a complex psychiatric disorder characterized by delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, and abnormal behaviors. So it affects approximately 1% of the global population, making one of the most common and debilitating severe mental illness. In recent years, a large body of research has advanced our understanding of the altered brain dynamics underlying schizophrenia. So study has reporting altered connectivity, altered global signals, and distortions in hierarchical spatial temporal brain organizations. However, the exact nature of this disruption remains unknown. So to parsimoniously describe such altered brain dynamics in schizophrenia, our previous study aimed to provide a compact description of causal brain dynamics by decomposing them into a superposition of signal propagation patterns. So this work is currently available on bioRxiv, and you will be soon in this in the Neuroimaging soon. So to do this, we used a method called dynamic mode decomposition, or DMD. DMD is a powerful data-driven method that allows us to approximate the causal structure of complex systems in a low-dimensional space. Specifically, DMD takes the time series data and decomposes it into a set of dynamic modes, which are spatially distributed patterns that evolve coherently over time. So the procedure DMD is quite simple. It starts with finding best approximation of the linear operator A, then models temporal evolution of adjacent time points. So by performing just eigendecomposition of this operator A, then we can get the dynamic modes, or DMs. So in our previous study, we applied this method to human cognition project dataset. So to better understand what these dynamic modes represent, it's just helpful to look at an example. The first mode I'd like to introduce is what we call the principal DM. We use this term because this mode has both the largest eigenvalue and amplitude, meaning that this mode dominates the overall brain dynamics. And moreover, it also shows a strong spatial alignment with the principal functional gradient, further supporting its central role. So in this map, the red indicates positive activation and blue indicates negative activation. At the initial time point, we can observe a synchronized activation that begins in the unimodal regions, such as the visual, auditory, and sensory motor areas. Then it propagates to the transmodal areas like this. So since the DMs are inherently periodic, so we interpret this propagation pattern as capturing bidirectional propagation along unimodal and transmodal axes. So we speculated that this propagation reflects multisensory integration from the unimodal to the transmodal regions, and also the top-down modulation from the transmodal to unimodal regions. So one key advantage of DMD is that it focuses on the coherence within the system. So this method allows us to capture even low energy propagation patterns. For example, the second most dominant dynamic mode reveals a propagation pattern between the default mode network and the central executive networks. So we thought that this could be the basis for the well-known anticorrelation between the DMN and the CEN. And consistent with the previous finding that this anticorrelation supports task performance, we also found that the stronger engagement of this mode was significantly correlated with general cognitive abilities across individuals. And importantly, we found that just 5 dominant propagation modes, including the ones I've shown, were sufficient to optimally predict the future bird signals. So these 5 modes could also accurately reconstruct both the static functional connectivity and dynamic functional connectivity. And additionally, we also observed that these modes are inheritable. Furthermore, we found that these five DMs could account for at least 9 well-known dynamic features of brain activity. So this suggests that these propagation patterns from a low-dimensional manifold that captures the fundamental structure of large-scale brain dynamics. So in the current study, we aim to build on our previous studies by using DMD to characterize alterations in brain dynamics in schizophrenia. So one key difference in this study compared to our previous work is that we handle spatial dimensionality reduction, which is essential for applying DMD. In our earlier work, we relied on the brain parcellation, but in this work, to make the method more generalizable, we developed an ICA-based DMD approach in collaboration with Dr. Armin Raj and Dr. Jia Chen at the Trend Center. So the method itself is quite straightforward. We just first apply ICA and then perform DMD on the resulting time courses. So we applied this ICA-based DMD approach on the open data set. So this data set includes the resting state data from the 71 schizophrenia individuals and the 74 healthy control individuals. So in our analysis, we applied DMD separately to each population. So in the healthy control, we were able to reproduce DMs that closely match with those identified in our previous study. As you can see, the principal DM emerged as the most dominant mode in healthy controls. The most prominent difference between schizophrenia and healthy controls was a significant reduction in this unimodal transmodal propagation. So we found a significant reduction in this amplitude of this principal mode in the schizophrenia group. And importantly, in the schizophrenia group, this mode was only the second most dominant propagation. So then, what kind of propagation pattern was most dominant in the schizophrenia group? We found that the most prominent propagation in schizophrenia was originate from the sensory motor areas and propagate to the other areas. So suggesting that an abnormal emphasis on the bottom-up sensory motor driven dynamics in schizophrenia brain. So when we compare these dominant dynamic modes in the two group, so we see a clear difference at the moment when the unimodal regions become active. In healthy controls, the dominant mode shows strong synchronization between the somatomotor and the visual areas. However, in the schizophrenia, the synchronization is notably weaker, suggesting that disruptive coordination among unimodal systems. So this finding can be interpreted as altered multisensory integration in schizophrenia, and this interpretation aligns well with previous theories suggesting that impaired multisensory integration is a core contributor to various symptoms in schizophrenia. And we also found that in the schizophrenia group, the strength of this mode decreased with age. And also, the propagation between the DM and the CNM also declined with age. So to summarize, we found a clear disruption in unimodal transmodal signal propagation in schizophrenia. And moreover, the emergence of the different dominant mode in this group points to the pathological reorganization of the brain's functional hierarchy. Together, these results highlight the potential of the propagation-based analysis as a proper framework for understanding neuropsychiatric disorders. But there are a few limitations to note. First, to strengthen the clinical relevance of our finding, we need to explore whether the mode amplitude correlates with the symptom severity. And also, our method assumes a linear model of the brain dynamics, so which may limit its accuracy over the longer time scale or in capturing more complex nonlinear interactions. So I'd like to thank all of my collaborators who contributed to this part of this project, and thank you for your attention.
Okay, we have two questions related to your method, DMD, which seems very interesting. So the first question is how to interpret the dynamic mode measure. What exactly does it represent?
I'm sorry, you mean the metrics?
Well, the audience says DM, so I guess the decomposition of the data into each mode, but what exactly do they represent in terms of brain signals?
What the DM represent, you mean? Oh, okay. So each DM has unique propagation patterns. So we think that each DM should be aligned well with some kind of a unique operational role of the brain dynamics, such as that. As I explained, the multimodal integration and also the transition between the default mode and the executive network, just like that. So, yeah.
Okay, and the second question is, what is the ratio of explained variance between the first and second dynamic mode in two groups that you just showed? And is it possible that there is a random rotation across those modes?
Actually, this DM shows quite in the sense of the explanatory variance. So I used the just cross validation method to approximate them. So I think the first DM has the most explanatory power among the other DM. But I think in my as I remember, I think the second and the third and the fourth one has half of the only experimental power than compared to the first one. But it's really hard to say that how much the exact variance that each mode can explain.
Yeah, okay, and the second question regarding whether it's possible there might be a random rotation between different modes.
Random rotation.
Yeah, I don't understand exactly what that means by the audience, but I guess when you decompose your data, is it possible that when you run it repetitively, will you be able to get exactly the same results every time? That would be my guess.
Maybe that is possible, but I think if I just randomly rotate the spatial dimension, then maybe the spatial pattern does not align well with the well-established the resting state network such as DMN or CN, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.